Hello and welcome to another episode of Be Fearless podcast. And today I have with me Aseem, and he is very famous for starting many different conferences all over the world. So happy to have him here with us today. So Aseem, just give us a little introduction about yourself, although I don't think you need any.
Hey everyone, I'm Aseem Jakhar. I am the co-founder of a bunch of companies. We run two cybersecurity conferences around the world. One is called Nullcon, pretty famous in India, and one is called Hardware.io that focuses on chip-level silicon security. And I run a couple of other startups as well, doing security consulting specialized in embedded security. And we're coming up with a product to automate security testing for IoT products.
Fantastic. So let's go all the way back to how it all started. So what made you want to get into cybersecurity? And especially, I think your first venture was a conference, right?
Yes.
If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So why did you want to do that?
All right. So let's go back to college.
Yeah.
I actually was doing my graduation in hotel management. Like I was not into IT. But then we had this computer lab in our college that had recently opened up. So everyone was curious. So we used to go sit there, use old, at that time there was this chatting system called IRC. So we used to just spend whole day chatting there.
Wow.
And then one day my machine got hacked.
Wow.
I saw a virus and that got me interested into security. So I learned programming at that institute, at that lab, and then I told my parents I don't want to do masters in business or anything. I want to get into computers, and then I did my masters in computers. Joined an antivirus company, started working on software development for security products. And then I realized that in India, India is known for tech, right? But there was no cybersecurity community as such. This was back in 2007-8. So we decided to start one. And so it's called Null. And turns out there were, thousands of people like me.
Yeah.
And so we all got together, and then, we started having meetups, and then it started mushrooming in other cities as well.
Nice.
And
so how many years ago was this?
This was 2008.
Wow. Okay.
So then we did that for a couple of years, and then we realized that, hey, we really need a research-focused conference here, like really hardcore technical. And that was the start of my entrepreneurship journey, you can say. I quit my job. We started a conference with two of my co-founders, and then one thing led to another. Yeah. And I'm here.
So glad that you're here and you're empowering all these. Null community in India is so strong. I think it's definitely one of the most stronger cybersecurity groups out there. So glad that you had that start. So was there any friction? Because now you're telling me that your parents were actually pushing you towards business and you decided to go. Now the story is so different, right? Now parents would rather choose, let us do. So was there any friction for you when you started? Was it hard for you to get some support?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the reasons of starting the Null community as well. So, I mean, it started with back home. There was a lot of resistance in terms of it's going to be very difficult to change your career path now. Like moving from totally non-IT, where the practicals meant cooking food to actually doing, making software. That's completely different.
So you're a good cook?
I would like to think so.
That's good. Good skill to have.
Yeah. But so the foodie side still remains in me.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was difficult for sure.
Yeah.
But when you have passion for something or interest in something, I think you don't feel the pain.
Yeah.
So I had to study more, obviously, but I didn't feel like it didn't feel like a burden. It was more of I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to know more. So it never felt. I was always excited. Yeah. So I think it was not as difficult as somebody thinks. Like if I can do it, anyone can do it. Right?
So how did you figure out the business side of things? Because when you're building a community, you usually want to get the people together first, right?
Yes.
So
I think I would consider myself lucky because typically when somebody starts entrepreneurship, the core aim is to, establish a business and
Yep.
to figure out, okay, that this business will be profitable, and
Yep.
so you make a plan. For me and my co-founders, it
Yep.
was the other way around. Like we did not anticipate that we are going to be, starting a business and running companies. It was more organic in terms of. So I was doing community work, and then I saw some friction within our organization in terms of spending time for non-profit. And I think the first year we ran the conference, it was not a company.
Okay.
So we thought we will just run the conference like as a non-profit, and then we will just do some gigs on the side. So that's why we decided to quit our job, because it was quite a huge effort to run a conference, which later we figured, and we said that if we have to do it continuously, we need to do it professionally. That's when we registered a company only to do this. But the idea was still that we will generate money from doing consulting or projects. Not the idea was not through the conference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it over the years it grew. We had to struggle for like quite a few years.
Yeah.
We had to put money from our own pockets. Whatever we would earn from the consulting, we would put it back. But then later, I think the industry realized the importance, because when we started, it was more like it didn't have a purpose. At least in the minds of corporates in India, it didn't have any kind of purpose. It didn't solve any problem. Which later everyone realized that it was solving a lot of problems in cybersecurity. Call it job skills or research. What is state of the art, which is now very extremely important, right?
Absolutely. So, from your perspective, over the years, has this need changed both from the corporate side and also for the people who are coming to conferences? Have you seen any dynamic changes in terms of like the needs?
Oh yes, absolutely. Like I don't want to take credit for this, but when we started, we were a small community.
Yeah.
So there were like, bunch of people studying, some freshers and some like just joined. And over the years, we have seen the transition of people who started, coming and contributing to the conference and the community.
Yeah.
Most of them have gone ahead and started their own cybersecurity startups, which are doing extremely good. Most of them are now CISOs in big startups, big companies. So I think it's a proud moment for us also, because what thought process we had actually materialized. Like
that's so
people
cool.
could realize their dreams through the community and the conference over the years.
Yeah. That is so, I feel so good just listening to that. I mean, it's definitely a very rewarding feeling, right? I mean, even when I talk to Vivek about Pentester Academy, he also says that the most rewarding thing for him wasn't the exit, was definitely the fact that no matter where he goes, people recognize him to be the person who educated him, right? So maybe that's a good segue for us to talk about your relationship with Vivek.
Oh, yeah. So I think we almost started at the same time.
Yeah.
So we realized we used to come to DEF CON, and we used to meet at other conferences. He used to come down to Nullcon as well, and I have seen him grow over the years. I think again, what's important is the passion, and he is extremely hardworking. Like when I look at him, I'm like, oh my God, how can somebody work so much? And I think probably in his mind it would be the same, right? When you like something or love something, it doesn't feel like a burden, right? So you just keep on going, and you don't realize that that's hard work. Right? So I've seen him struggle. He has seen me struggle. But I think his consistency in terms of and vision that he wanted to do for Pentester Academy, I think he achieved that. And then he had this new idea of SquareX, which honestly I really like the idea, because it can basically what it gives is more than what traditional desktop or system security software would do for you. So really appreciate his efforts.
Thank you so much. So I have a question regarding, like, from your perspective, right? So you've seen the threatscape sort of over the years So how do you think it has changed? Maybe from the vendors that you get, like their product offerings, or just the conferences that you've attended. Have you noticed some sort of change over the years? Because from my understanding, cybersecurity grows even faster than technological advancements, right?
Yes.
You're always trying your best to stay one step ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
So there have been, you can say, decades of focus from both the hacker community, the hackers, and the cyber criminals. So I would like to distinguish between both of them, because for me, a hacker is someone who is more into technology to be able to identify certain things which normal people won't be able to identify within the software, bypass certain things. And then, so those are the good guys who find new things, and then there is a set of people who use those, who use that research for profit. So mostly for bad things.
Yeah.
And so what happens is there is a research community or a hacker community that does research in something, and then the cyber criminal community, if you would call it a community, looks at the potential of that research, and then they use it. They basically commercialize it.
Yep.
Right. So over the years, if you look, before in the last century, when it started, it was more of finding vulnerabilities in software on the server side. So then the attackers started creating exploits for that, and then after a decade they realized, wait a minute, this is really getting difficult now.
Yeah.
And we're not able to create exploits that are where we can get control on the servers. And then the researchers started researching on client-side security.
Yeah.
And then they started finding a lot of vulnerabilities, and the bad guys were like, wait a minute, why do I have to exploit a server, then identify another server, and then pivot to a user? It's extremely difficult. Why not just exploit browsers, for example, or client software, for example? And that's when people started finding vulnerabilities, and that's when the whole client-side exploitation started. Phishing or browser exploitation. That went on, and that's still going on, by the way. And then they realized that a lot of people are now buying, a lot of devices are becoming intelligent. So it's not just the PC that I can hack. I can also hack cameras from that, because the camera is connected to the internet. And now browser exploitation, the native exploitation is getting difficult. So I have to find some other ways to exploit, right? Cameras look an easy target. Fridge looks like an easy target.
Yeah.
So then, and at that time, researchers also started researching on finding vulnerabilities in these devices. And then the criminals started commercializing this. So now you'll see a lot of car thefts. You will see a lot of attacks on these devices, which compromise the enterprise infrastructure, in addition to the client-side attacks. So, and now the trend is moving to AI and whatnot. So it keeps on changing.
So from all these research papers that are being presented, right, are there any barriers to adoption by the vendors themselves that you've seen? Because I've heard many great talks, but I feel like there's always going to be a lag time between when this actually get patched or implemented. So from your perspective, is there some resistance, or
it's like the cat and mouse game? Like there'll be an extremely amazing research shown here. Unfortunately, after DEF CON finishes or after the conference finishes, it just becomes a video and paper. Until the day a criminal realizes, oh my God, this is an extremely easy and efficient way to compromise a system. And then they will weaponize it. Once it is weaponized and there will be a breach, that's the time everyone wakes up. Vendors wake up, and then security vendors will come up. Hey, we have this new feature that protects against these kind of attacks. So it basically takes, it's like a cat and mouse game. So basically it takes some damage, and when the damage is realized, that's when everyone wakes up. Otherwise, it is all the market research. AI is cool, so everybody is saying we are AI for blah blah security. Right?
So is this something you also noticed from your personal experience, like in your company, you're also doing pen testing and software, like all of those kind of things. So from your clients, do you also see some sort of like lag between,
There are two kinds of concerns for customers.
Yeah.
One is on the regulation side, and one is on the breach side.
Yeah.
So when I say breach side, it is more of there might not be any regulation, but the customer still cares that if there is a breach or an attack or a vulnerability identified in this product, it could cost us money in terms of goodwill, or it would cost us in terms of competition getting access to our IP. So that's a totally different motivation. So that motivation means that they will try to figure out everything possible in which they can protect or mitigate against any kind of issues in their products, whether it's a software or a hardware, doesn't matter. And then the other side is compliance, because you want to sell something in certain industry.
Yeah.
You have to adhere to certain compliance, and that's when the checklist comes. So the customer will come and say, "Hey, listen,
Yeah.
I don't want you to put 1 month of effort in breaking my software. All I want is, this is the checklist. Just test through this and tell me if I violate this regulation or if I'm compliant with it." So yeah. So basically based on the motivation of the customers.
Yeah. So either way, it's still going to be not as robust as somebody who's genuinely understood. So another question I have is for people who are starting out today. So the cyber landscape today is a lot better thanks to people like you who've built up many communities around the world. What do you think is one of the key skills that they should focus on? Because I believe that, at least from what I've heard from Vivek, is that when he started, things were a lot simpler, right? Because there were so few people in the field. But now there's so many people, and the technology has advanced at such a level that, you have to constantly keep updating yourself of what the latest threats and everything is. So what is different for the people who are starting out today? What can they do differently to make sure they stay relevant?
It's a bit different in terms of how I look at it. So what happens is most of the people try to jump the gun. So when they say I'm interested in cybersecurity, they try to focus on a certain aspect of cybersecurity, like right on the top. So they would directly go and start learning, specific. Let's say if somebody's talking about web security, so they will learn about web security issues, attacks, and try and do those attacks themselves and learn. Now the problem is they might understand those specific attacks, but their knowledge and experience is narrowed only to that.
Yeah.
How does it happen? Why does it happen? What is the technology underlying? They miss, and I see that as a hindrance for them to succeed in the long run.
Absolutely.
So for some reason, I think I got lucky. I did a lot of studies on the core technologies rather than look at cybersecurity. There was no cybersecurity at that time
so
where
you
we
had
could
to
learn.
Seek for the information,
So
right?
learn computer engineering basics, learn the architecture, learn the operating system basics, then learn servers, learn protocols, and there was no security in it. But I realized that helped me so much that now when I started learning about cybersecurity on top, I exactly knew what is happening in the backend or in the core technology, because I studied through it, and I think that has helped me to grasp a lot of security concepts which otherwise would be extremely difficult for me. So if you're starting on cybersecurity, don't focus on the top level. Focus on the technology first. Understand how the technology works, and then move on to the domain of cybersecurity.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything you would like to tell our audience?
Keep learning, keep hacking, and if you learn something, make sure that you contribute back to the community, because that's the way the community grows. But more importantly, that's the way you grow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Aseem. Really happy to have you, and hoping to see you again on another show, maybe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.